It was a particularly cold and wet evening in the quiet town where the Martin family lived. As they gathered around the dinner table, the sounds of laughter and the clinking of dishes filled their cozy kitchen. Outside, the rain beat against the windows, and gusts of wind rattled the branches. Inside, Laura and David, along with their children, Emma and Josh, enjoyed the warmth and light of their home, a stark contrast to the gloomy weather outside. Suddenly, a soft, persistent scratching interrupted their cheerful banter. The noise was faint at first, almost drowned out by the storm, but it grew louder, more desperate. David paused, a forkful of food halfway to his mouth, and cocked his head, listening. The children noticed too, and the room fell silent except for the sound of the wind and the mysterious scratching. "Is someone at the door?" Emma's voice was a mix of curiosity and concern. She was the adventurous one, always eager to explore the unknown. "It might just be the wind," David replied, trying to dismiss his own growing curiosity. But the scratching continued, insistent, impossible to ignore. He pushed back his chair and walked over to the door, the old wooden floor creaking under his steps. Laura watched him go, a slight frown creasing her brow. She always had a soft spot for animals, and something told her this was no ordinary visitor. The children huddled close behind their father, peering over his shoulder as he slowly opened the door. There, in the shadowy light of the porch, stood a small, soaked cat. Its fur was matted against its thin body, and its eyes shone with a mix of fear and hope. It meowed weakly, as if pleading for shelter. The sight tugged at their hearts. "Oh, the poor thing!" Laura exclaimed, stepping forward. She knelt down, extending her hand slowly towards the shivering cat. "It's okay, little one, you're safe now." The family's initial surprise turned into a warm, protective urge to help the vulnerable creature at their doorstep. David, seeing his wife and children's concern, nodded slightly. "Well, let's bring her in. We can't leave her out in this storm." As they welcomed the stray into their home, the warmth from the fireplace seemed to embrace them all a little tighter. The simple act of opening their door to the needy cat brought an unexpected shift in the evening, weaving a new thread of kindness and compassion into the fabric of their family life. With the stray cat now safely inside, the Martins' kitchen became a haven from the storm's chill. Laura quickly fetched a soft towel from the linen closet, wrapping the shivering animal gently. The cat, though initially tense and unsure, began to relax as the warmth of the room and the kindness of her rescuers enveloped her. David and the children watched in silence, moved by the sight of Laura tenderly caring for the stray. Emma, her eyes wide with compassion, slowly approached and knelt beside her mother. "What should we call her?" she whispered, her voice filled with a newfound sense of responsibility toward the little creature that had stumbled into their lives. Josh, not much younger than Emma, looked on with equal parts curiosity and excitement. "She's so quiet and gentle," he observed thoughtfully. "How about Whisper?" The name seemed to fit perfectly, capturing the cat's timid and unobtrusive nature. Laura smiled, nodding in agreement as she stroked Whisper's damp fur. "Whisper it is then," she confirmed, her voice soft but filled with warmth. The family's initial apprehension about the unexpected guest transformed into a collective desire to protect and nurture her. As the evening wore on, the storm outside seemed to lessen in its fury, as if an acknowledgement of the warmth growing inside the Martins' home. David set up a makeshift bed for Whisper in the corner of the living room, near the fireplace. The family gathered old cushions and a warm blanket, creating a cozy nest. "Let's make sure she feels at home," David said, his usual stoic demeanor softened by the gentle presence of the new family member. They watched as Whisper, now dry and beginning to feel secure, curled up in her new bed. Her eyes slowly closed in contentment, trusting her new environment. The children sat on the floor near Whisper, speaking in hushed tones about the adventures they would have with their new friend. Laura and David exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. Tonight had brought an unexpected turn to their lives, and as they watched their children's faces lit by the flickering firelight, they knew that opening their door on this stormy night had changed their family for the better. This simple act of kindness had not only provided shelter for a stray, but had also deepened the bonds within their own family, reminding them of the joy and fulfillment that comes from caring for others. In the days that followed, Whisper seamlessly wove herself into the fabric of the Martin family's daily life. Emma and Josh took turns feeding her and cleaning her new space, each task performed with care and love. Whisper, in turn, began to reveal her personality, a quiet grace that filled their home with a gentle serenity previously unknown to them. Laura watched her children interact with Whisper, pride swelling in her heart. Their initial excitement transformed into a mature sense of duty, and it warmed her to see such kindness and responsibility blossoming within them. Whisper was not just a pet. She was a teacher of compassion, a silent guide drawing out the best in each of them. As Whisper grew more comfortable, she started following Laura around the house, her soft paws patting quietly on the hardwood floors. She would sit by Laura's side as she read or worked, occasionally reaching out a paw as if to remind her of her presence. This small gesture, so full of trust and affection, deepened Laura's affection for the cat. However, one evening, Laura noticed Whisper seemed less active than usual. Her playful spirit dimmed, and she began to spend more time in her bed by the fire. Concerned, Laura decided it was time for a visit to the vet to ensure Whisper's quietude wasn't a sign of underlying health issues. The next morning, David took Whisper to the local vet, Dr. Sanders, who was known in their community for his gentle touch with animals. Emma and Josh insisted on coming along, each wanting to be there for Whisper, to offer her comfort and reassurance. In the vet's waiting room, surrounded by other pets and their owners, the children stayed close to Whisper, gently petting her and whispering words of encouragement. Dr. Sanders examined Whisper thoroughly, his experienced hands gentle and reassuring. After some tests, he confirmed that Whisper was mostly healthy but slightly undernourished and dehydrated, likely remnants of her days before finding the Martins. He prescribed some vitamins and a special diet to help her regain her strength. Relief washed over the family as they realized that their new friend was going to be all right. On the drive home, Whisper curled up in Emma's lap, her eyes closing in comfort, her body relaxed. The children discussed plans for ensuring Whisper's health, from her diet to the cozy spots they would prepare for her around the house. This shared mission brought them even closer, their care for Whisper strengthening the bonds of their family. Their home had always been a place of love and laughter, but now it was also a sanctuary for a creature who had wandered into their lives, bringing with her a new depth of joy and unity. As weeks passed, the Martin family grew even more attached to Whisper. They meticulously followed Dr. Sanders' instructions, incorporating the special diet into her routine and watching with delight as she gradually regained her strength and vitality. Her coat became glossier, and her eyes sparkled with a newfound zest for life. During this time, Laura took it upon herself to learn more about cat care, spending evenings researching and reading about the best ways to keep Whisper healthy and happy. The whole family pitched in, turning their efforts into a bonding activity. They would sit together, discussing articles and tips they found, each member eager to contribute to Whisper's well-being. However, the real test came when they returned for a follow-up visit to Dr. Sanders. Nerves fluttered in their stomachs as they waited in his office, Whisper calmly sitting in Laura's lap, unaware of the anxious hearts around her. Dr. Sanders greeted them with a warm smile, which did little to soothe their apprehension. He carefully examined Whisper, his expert hands gently probing as he checked her responses and vitals. After a thorough checkup, he turned to the Martins with a smile. "She's made excellent progress," he announced, his voice filled with professional satisfaction. "You've done a wonderful job caring for her. She's healthier than I could have hoped at this stage." The family exhaled in collective relief, smiles breaking out on their faces. Emma and Josh hugged each other, their eyes shining with joy. Laura thanked Dr. Sanders, her voice thick with emotion, grateful for his guidance and support. On their way home, David suggested, "Why don't we celebrate Whisper's clean bill of health?" The children cheered in agreement, proposing a small party for Whisper. They decided on a quiet celebration at home, with treats for Whisper and a special dinner for the family. That evening, they gathered in the living room, the air filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses as they toasted to Whisper's health and to many more years together. This visit to the vet not only confirmed Whisper's recovery, but also reinforced the family's commitment to their furry member. It was a reaffirmation of the unexpected joy and responsibility that came with her arrival, binding them closer together through shared care and love. They had started as Whisper's rescuers, but now they realized how much she had rescued them, bringing new warmth and unity to their home. As autumn gave way to winter, Whisper had become an inseparable part of the Martin household. The children learned more than just how to care for an animal. They learned about empathy, patience, and the joy of seeing a once timid creature flourish under their love. Whisper, no longer just a pet, was a beloved family member who brought her own quiet brand of joy to their lives. The Martins also began to notice subtle changes in themselves. The routine of caring for Whisper, ensuring she had her meals on time and her health checks, brought a new rhythm to their daily life. Laura noticed that the children were more responsible, often taking the initiative to look after Whisper without being asked. David found solace in the quiet companionship that Whisper offered during the early mornings when he sipped his coffee and she sat purring beside him. Seeing the positive impact Whisper had on their family, Laura proposed an idea that was quickly embraced by all: volunteering at the local animal shelter. This decision opened up new experiences for the Martins. They spent Saturdays at the shelter, helping to care for other animals in need, learning their stories, and even assisting in finding homes for them. This activity brought them closer to their community and gave them a sense of purpose beyond their own immediate concerns. One particularly chilly Saturday, as they were leaving the shelter, they stopped to post pictures and stories of the shelter animals on social media, hoping to find homes for them. Emma and Josh were especially good at telling each animal's story, drawing from their experience with Whisper to speak about the difference a loving home could make. Their efforts were not in vain. The shelter saw an increase in adoptions and donations, and the Martins felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They realized that their initial act of kindness towards Whisper had rippled out farther than they had imagined, influencing not just their own lives, but also the lives of many other animals and people in their community. As they drove home, the car filled with the contented feeling of tired but happy bodies, Laura looked at her family and felt a profound gratitude for the journey they had embarked upon because of Whisper. They had thought they were just rescuing a cat, but in reality, Whisper had led them to a greater understanding of love, community, and the impact one small act of kindness could have. Months after Whisper first came into their lives, the Martins gathered around the living room on a cozy evening, reminiscing about the night they first opened their door to the little stray cat. The fireplace crackled softly in the background, casting warm glows on their faces as they each shared their favorite moments from the past months. David spoke first, his voice filled with a gentle pride. "I think we all can agree that Whisper has been more than just a pet to us. She's a part of this family now, and I can't imagine our home without her." The children nodded enthusiastically, with Emma adding, "She's the best thing that happened to us last year." Laura, always the thoughtful one, took the opportunity to steer the conversation towards a broader perspective. "You know, there are so many other animals out there, just like Whisper, waiting in shelters for someone to give them a chance. Maybe we could do more to help them." Her suggestion was met with eager agreement from the family. Inspired by their own story of kindness and its ripple effects, they decided to start a community initiative to support local animal shelters. They planned to organize monthly fundraising events and awareness campaigns to help other animals find homes just like Whisper did. As they discussed ideas, Josh, usually the quieter one, spoke up. "We could even start a blog or a social media page where we share stories like Whisper's to show people how much joy adopting a pet can bring." His eyes shone with the excitement of the new project, and his family beamed at him, proud of his initiative. The evening ended with the Martins feeling a renewed sense of purpose. They had witnessed firsthand how rescuing Whisper had enriched their lives, and now they were ready to pay it forward, spreading the message of compassion and adoption. Laura turned to their online followers in a live video later that evening. Her family gathered around her, and Whisper contentedly purring in her lap. If you're considering adding a pet to your family, please visit your local shelter. There are so many wonderful animals just waiting to fill your home with love. And if you can't adopt, consider volunteering or donating. Every little bit helps. She smiled, squeezing Whisper gently. Let's make a difference together. For Whisper, and for all the Whispers out there still waiting for a home. With that call to action, the Martins not only continued to enjoy their life with Whisper, but also ignited a community movement that would help countless other animals find the warmth and love of a forever home.